Good evening. Welcome to the coaching hour with Boitumelo. My name is Khensani Chauke. Tonight I'll be standing in for Boitumelo. The coaching hour is the show that equips and transforms communities. And today we are celebrating Heritage Day with two incredible women, Coach Candace and Coach Duduzile. Welcome, coaches. Before I introduce you, just let me do this. Okay, here am I. All right. Okay, I will firstly start with Coach Candace. Welcome, Coach. I have Coach Candace Nagura from Durban. Coach is a wife, a mom, she's an entrepreneur, she is a mentor to young ladies in South Africa and other African countries. I don't know how these beautiful women and phenomenal women able to do all this work, because they are moms, they are sisters, they are daughters, they are mentors, they are coaches, you know, they do it all. And another coach is Duduzile Mashinini. Duduzile, she's a certified NLP life coach and ordained minister of the gospel and author. Oh, Coach, I can't wait to have your book. And she is a director of her own company. I don't want to say much about them. And what I can say is, coaches, you are welcome to the show. Now is the coaching hour. Coach Candace, can you kindly introduce yourself?
Okay, so I'm Candace, and like Khensani said, wife, mom to two girls. I'm a linguist, an entrepreneur, and I mentor and coach young ladies. And it's something that I'm very passionate about. I love inspiring people, I love motivating people, and I love getting people to live their best life possible.
Nice, Coach. Welcome to the coaching hour. Thank you for answering our call. When we said, Coach Candace, can you come and celebrate Heritage Day with us? For now, let's go to Coach Duduzile. Kindly introduce yourself.
Good evening, Khensani and the listeners, and thank you so much for having me on the show. It's quite an honor to be a part of this beautiful and amazing station. Okay, as Khensani has said, I am an NLP practitioner, I'm a life coach, I'm an author of a beautiful book called From My Mama's Womb, subtitled Dealing with Who You Have Become. And I'm also a director of Tech Trading, which is a training and coaching company, and I'm also a founder and a pioneer of soul intervention programs. So I'm also a soul therapist. So I am just a busy woman.
Wow, Coach. Oh, yeah. Thank you, ladies, and I'm looking forward to hear what you guys offer. I'm here to listen and learn a lot. To our listeners, please go grab your notepad, your pen, invite your friends, invite your family members to come and learn with you this evening with our beautiful coach as we celebrate Heritage Day. So as we celebrate a Heritage Day, we know in South Africa each and every year, September, we have a Heritage Day and we celebrate it. So Coach Candace, what does Heritage Day mean to you?
Wow, so Heritage Day. For me, it's a bit complicated because I am Indian, and so yes, Indian culture definitely. But then I'm South African, and so it's a mix of South African culture. So it's more like a cultural mix. And I think it's just like culture is the lifeblood of a vibrant society, because that's exactly what it is. And so we express our culture in the way we tell stories. And if you know the Indian culture, we love telling stories, especially the older people. And so we celebrate our culture. We entertain ourselves with dancing. Any Indian event that you attend, it's always music and dancing and singing. And so it's something beautiful like that. So that's why I think for me, culture is very important, because it helps to see the growth of the group identity. And so, so like I said, for me, culture, Heritage Day, it's just a mix. Like, we going to Braai on here. So that's just it.
That's what I wanted to say, that when I grew up, I knew that on Heritage Day, the first thing that I know about Heritage Day is the braai, that we're going to have braai. And another thing is, as we were going to school, we know that we are going to celebrate it from school. They will tell us to come with our heritage outfits, and then we must represent who we are, where we come from, even though we don't even understand our culture, because most of the time they will ask me, Khensani, what culture are you? Then I will say I'm proudly South African, because I don't want to lie and say things about my culture and I don't know anything about it, because I was born and bred in Pretoria. Pretoria is diverse. Everybody's there. We have Zulu, we have vendors, we have, that's why I always say I'm proudly South African, because I can fit in everywhere, and I've learned so many languages to be able to communicate with everyone. So that's why I I say I am a proudly South African. So South African is my culture. As long as I'm in South Africa, then I fit everywhere. So let's go to Coach Duduzile. Coach Duduzile, what does culture mean to you? What does heritage?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, for me, it informs our social behavior. It informs my social behavior, and is also informing my beliefs and my customs, my habits, and my language as well. Because I've been raised by the Ndebeles. Okay, my mom is Mahlangu, so when we know about the famous Esther Mahlangu, then I'm like, I'm from that bloodline. Mm-hmm. So that is my culture, and when you look at the Ndebele culture, is one of the most colorful and beautiful culture that is actually, the accessories are known globally. So I must say I'm a proud Ndebele girl.
Yes, I can support you in that. I can support you in that. They have beautiful accessories. They have beautiful, colorful. If you go to Ndebele site, you'll see even the buildings. They have this beautiful drawings with different colors. They have beautiful accessories, I must say. And they are blankets with different colors. And their colors is carrying our South African flag. They have all those colors in their cultural. That's so nice, Coach. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So, in coming to answering the question that Candice was also addressing, is what do we do on Heritage Day? We eat, we just eat. That's all we do. We eat and drink, basically it's all coming together and having a good time and celebrating each other. So that is Heritage Day for us.
Okay. So do you guys have a specific food that you cook on Heritage Day, or what kind of food do you eat? Do you?
Yeah, it's basically meat. I'm sure most cultures love meat, and we love morojo, and it's all the traditional foods, but there is just no meal without food, and then or you go for your offals, and amanqina and iskopo, it's just all those foods
traditional
some
food.
cultures might not eat, but as Africans we do enjoy, and Debeles obviously.
Yeah. And Coach Candace, do you have any specific food that you eat on Heritage Day when you're celebrating culture?
Honestly, on Heritage Day every year, it's not even about curry or biryani or anything like that. It's just a braai day. It's our South African culture. We braai. And from the time I'm a little girl, that's what I remember, that on Heritage Day we braai. So, yeah, enough meat.
We have we have pap and fleis. That is our South African culture. If one thing I know about South African culture is that we're gonna have a braai. Even other countries they call it a barbecue, but with us it's a braai all the way, the whole year, birthdays and other functions. All we do is to make a braai. So would you say our culture has an impact in our behavior?
Definitely, our culture definitely has an impact in our behavior. I was actually talking about this to a group of young ladies not long ago, and I was telling them that your culture basically defines your values, it defines your beliefs, and even for me, some of my personal interests are defined by my culture. And so it allows us to maintain our identity in society, which I believe is very, very important. So coming back to your question, yes, it does, because whether we like it or not, whether we believe it or not, our culture plays a huge role in who we are. It's defined by our upbringing. And so our culture is our identity. And it helps me also to differentiate between right and wrong. And it's just basically goes back to your upbringing. And it's your culture that defines that. So yeah, it's very important. It impacts who we are.
Oh, okay. I hear you. Coach Duduzile, I know you are an apostle and a life coach. So can you let me know the difference between a Christian culture and our African culture? Is there any difference between the two? So Christianity versus our culture, and it can be any culture or your culture. Is any differences between the two?
Okay, this is now my personal view. Obviously, most people are Christians, and our Christian beliefs are also not the same, as much as our cultural beliefs are also not the same. But what I have found in common is that the foundations are the same. Okay. And the foundations that I'm referring to is the basic principles of life, which is respect, which is honor, which is noble behavior. So I believe across the board, both in Christianity and culturally, depending on whichever culture it is, and also depending on whatever religion that people are following, those are the basis of both Christianity and our different cultures. So for me, I'm saying there is common ground, and then now the difference comes into which culture you are raised from and which religious beliefs do you have. So, but for Christianity, there's a lot of commonality within the two.
Okay. So in from what you're saying, I hear, does our culture affect our identity?
It definitely does. As much as we are remember, firstly, we are born into a family with a certain culture. And as you grow up, you are being informed by the belief systems of that family, which is of that culture that you're growing in. And then when you become of age, that's when you decide that now I want to be a Christian, you see. So, but the main identity, the main focus starts when you're a child, and starts in your family, and that's where your identity is being shaped and it's been formed. And then later in life, then you get to choose now that you want to be a Christian or not.
Okay. Your view, Coach Candace, what is your view in does our culture affect our identity, or our culture is our identity?
I think our culture does affect our identity in a big way. But like Coach Duduzile just said, there comes a point where you make a decision for yourself. And like I say, when you, for example, at university, you adopt a culture at university culture based on the group that you belong to. When you're at church, you adopt a church culture, or people call it a kingdom culture. And so wherever you go, whichever group you belong to, you adopt that culture. And so, yes, culture plays a big role in your identity, in who you are. But like I said, it also stems from your upbringing. And so for me, that's the core of your cultural belief and your identity is your upbringing, and then everything else builds from that.
Yeah, it's like you just answered what was my next question. My next question was, would you say culture has a big impact in our upbringing? So you did mention that yes, culture has a lot of impact in our upbringing, because we grow up and we are raised in different families, and each and every family, they have their own cultural practice, they have their own cultural identity and beliefs. And as we grow up, we tend to make our own decisions. That's why sometimes they will look at you and ask you, which family are you from? Because of the behavior that you'll be showing to people. Then they will want to know, which family are you coming from, and why are you behaving this way? So I do understand that our identity is from how we were raised. Because another thing I was like telling some of my friends and some of the coaches when we spoke about heritage last year, that you know what, I don't have too much views when it comes to my cultural belief system or practice, because I know nothing about that. I know nothing about my culture, and most of the things that I know about my culture that I was taught, which in my Christian or spiritual growth or Christian practice is still the same even today, was I need to know how to love. Like, I have to have that humanity as a person. I need to have compassion. I need to be kindness. I need to respect each and every elder like my own elders. The way I carry myself in public, I'm representing where I come from. And when you look at it as a Christian, is the same thing. Wherever you go, you still showing that your identity must say much about who you worship, who you honor, and the person you pray. So yeah, I do hear you about the identity, the beliefs, and the upbringing. So which place have you been into, Coach Candace? And when you go there, you were like, wow, I didn't know that in South Africa we have this kind of culture with this beautiful, maybe it can be a decor, accessories, or how they carry themselves, or their food, anything that you can say about a different culture from yours that wow you.
So a few years back, I was working with a group called Young Hope. And so we were traveling like across South Africa and also around to different African countries, working with young people at schools and universities. And we had an opportunity to go visit a mosque. And so I'm Christian, and so Islam is something that I'm not very familiar with. And for me, just walking into the mosque and seeing how it's laid out, and about the men praying in the main hall and the ladies praying upstairs in a different room, and just those dynamics. For me, I think it was more like a cultural shock because in the church that I come from, the women also have a voice, and we're allowed to speak, we're allowed to preach, we're allowed to voice our, we have a voice. And for me, it was a huge cultural shock to know that the ladies weren't even allowed into the main prayer hall. So, if I think back, that for me was a huge cultural shock, and it was very different from what I'm used to.
Yeah, and the same question to Coach Duduzile.
Okay, on my side, the one culture that always fascinates me is Afrikaans. So I have quite a few Afrikaans friends, and whenever they gather, it's just amazing. The food that they eat is obviously pap and vlees, and the interaction is just something else, So I find it fascinating, the way they relate, and it is quite interesting.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
But at least the food I can relate, because it's just mostly pap and vlees. And then there's just a few things that I would never imagine having, like pisang sly, when you're having a banana salad and you're like, oh my goodness, I never thought there was something like this. But it's quite interesting.
Yeah, it is. And going back to Coach Candace, I also had an experience myself with the prayer patterns. I can say patterns, or let me say prayer patterns. So I once went to Free State, and I was running a workshop there. Then I asked them that it was a certain company. Then I asked them that, guys, what do you do normally when you, before you start with your work? What do you do? Then they sharing there, and then one lady said, okay, most of the time when we come to the office, we pray. So I asked them that, do you mind us to start every workshop with prayer every morning? Then they said, no, it's our culture here in the company, like we do pray. Then I said, awesome, that's what I love. Okay, then I picked one lady and say, can you pray for us? And then she said, no, ma'am, I can't. And then I was like, why not? She said in her own culture, she's not allowed to pray in a room where there is a male. Like if there's a man in the room, men are the one who's supposed to pray. Then ladies are not allowed to pray. And for me, that was a first, because of from where I come from, like Coach Candace, they can just pick you to pray while men are there and all that. So it was also a new thing to me that, you can't pray while a man is present in the room. So if you have a husband at your home, it's a priest. The husband must pray for the family, like they must pray for the food, they must pray, they must bless everyone in the house. So you as a woman, you cannot pray while the man is there, unless the man is not in your presence, then you can start praying. So at least we had 4 guys in the room, and my workshop was 4 days. Then same day we decided that guy number 1 will pray for us today, guy number 2 will pray, and everybody, it was a win-win for everyone. But it was a new thing to me, and it was quite interesting to know that in some cultures in South Africa, you cannot pray as a woman if a man is present in the room. So yeah, so what you went through, Coach Candace, I can say I also experienced, and I've seen it in Sesotho, is Basotho culture, because it's in Free State. So I don't know if Basotho has different categories in their culture, because I know when it comes to Sepedi culture, they have different categories. They have Balobedu, and they have different Pedi's languages in their culture. So I don't know which one was which, but it was from Sesotho in Free State. So, and another thing that I wanted to find out from our heritage day or heritage culture in South Africa, what is it that you can say that in the heritage or in the culture that we have, what can we pass it on to the younger generation?
So I think with the younger generation, something that really would help is if we allow them to have more contact with family and with the community, because we learn a lot about our culture when we mingle with people, when we with our families, communities. And I know now young people tend to drift away from that, and it's always their friends and doing other stuff, but spend more time with their families. Also listening to stories. Something that I enjoy is listening to stories from like really old people. I love that's something you'd learn about me. I love sitting around with old people and just listening to stories about their lives and the past and stuff. So other young people need to do that. They need to sit with other older people that can share more about their culture and just their life. And I think also something that's very important is to join organizations or associations, even like youth clubs or stuff like that, that can actually allow them to meet other people within their culture. And so they can learn more about their culture in that way. And yeah, it's amazing. I mean, even though I'm a strong believer in cultural mix and learning about different cultures, I find it very important to know about your own culture. And it's something that everyone needs to take time out or carve time out to learn about your culture, learn about why you are the way you are. Because sometimes we don't have answers to why we think a certain way or why do we behave a certain way. And if we go back to our culture and say, oh, okay, but it's something that happened back then, and that's why it formed our grandparents and our parents' mindset, and that was passed on to us. And I actually think this way because of my culture. And so young people need to really take time to explore their culture.
Yeah. Coach Candace, Coach, it's a challenge for me also. I will start a journey of knowing my culture and understanding it better, so that I can also pass it to my children, so that they can understand their own culture. Because another thing that we do is, I remember when I started cooking, I asked there's when you cook pap at home, what they do, they mix it first with water. So you mixed maize meal with water before you add it in the boiling water, like the pot in the boiling water. Then there was this other time my daughter asked me, why always when you mix the pap, you mix the maize meal first in a bowl before you add it. And what I said to her was, you know what, I also don't know what I'm doing, why I'm doing this. What I know is that my grandmother was doing it, my grandmother was doing it, and my mom was doing it, and I'm doing it, and you are going to do it. But I never given her a clear understanding so that she can understand and know, why is mom doing this? because of it was passed on to me, and I'm also passing on to her, and I'm also telling her that you must pass it on to your own children. It makes the pap nice, it makes the pap smooth, all those kind of explanations that I also don't know, because that's what I've seen. Because other things we learn them by seeing being done. We see our parents doing it, we see our grandmother doing it, other people doing it, and then we just adopt the culture from seeing with our eyes or hearing without proper understanding of why are we doing that as people. And to you, Coach Duduzile, will you say between what is it that you understand about cultural practice versus Christianity?
Okay, I'll just repeat the question, like what do I understand about cultural practice
yes.
versus Christianity?
Yes.
Wow, that's an interesting one, because cultural practice, and as I mentioned earlier on, that the cultures are different, okay? And in some cultures, for instance, we look at Christianity, there's a very thin line, actually when it comes to Christianity, there's also difference. There are a lot of differences in Christianity, because like, for instance, our white Christians don't practice what the Black Christianity practice as well, which is related to culture. Now we look at, for instance, when it comes to marriage. Okay, now with our Black communities, there's still lobola that is being paid, and that is a cultural thing. And then the that is now a cultural thing. And then when we come to Christianity, some don't do it, but others would say there was also dowry in the Bible, and then but the white community is not practicing it. So can you see now these three dimensions, and they're all filtered, and we're all Christians at the end of the day. So certain things you just cannot run away from, because I can't say now my husband can't pay lobola, or my fiance can't pay lobola, because we are Christians. Meanwhile, our families are expecting it, otherwise this marriage is null and void. So there are huge dynamics that we still need to find common ground in. But at the end of the day, lobola still needs to be paid, whether you're Christian or not. We need to honor the families, because the commandment says honor your parents, so your mother and father, so that it may be well with you. So can you see these two dynamics?
Yeah.
So there has to, at some point, in an agreement, I don't know if I should call it an agreement or compromise. Meanwhile, we cannot compromise Christianity, and we also somehow cannot compromise, the cultures. So we've got some kind of dynamics there.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true, Coach, because we, even in Christianity, we have different practice according to our cultural, like churches in villages and churches in cities, even though they are both Christian churches, but their practices are different. So that's another thing that I also noticed when it comes to that. If you just tuned in now, you are with the Coaching Hour with Boitumelo. My name is Khensani Chauke. We are celebrating Heritage Day, and we're speaking about heritage today. And if you have any comments, please, you can comment on our Facebook chat and let us know your views about what you think, or what is your understanding about Heritage Day? What is your understanding about culture? So moving along to Coach Candace. Ladies, I'm enjoying this session, and I'm so happy and glad that I'm learning a lot of things. And from now on, in fact, from tomorrow, I must start listening. I must start calling my granny and asking for stories. Granny, can you please tell me what is this Chauke? Who is Chauke? Where Chauke come from? And all this kind of things that I need to know about my own culture. And I know I'm not alone out there. If you want to know about your heritage, if you want to know about your culture, like Coach Candace said, that you need to listen to stories. Let's go back to our grandmothers, let's go to our parents, and let's learn more about our culture and understand what is the meaning of culture, and understand what they do and how do they celebrate our culture, and what must we dress on cultural day. We know that all of us, we are proudly South African. We feed everywhere in South Africa. However, what is your own culture? What do you understand about it? What can you tell your children about this Heritage Day, and also your cultural beliefs and cultural practice and versus Christianity? So before we end the session, Coach Candace, where can the listeners get in contact with you? Do you have any officers? If they want to find a session with you, you have 1 minute to give them your contact details, and we move along to Coach Duduzile. She also has 1 minute to say where can they find her.
Okay, so if you need to chat with me, the most big platform that I have most of my clients from is Instagram. So my Instagram handle is @edu_mum. So it's EDU_mum, MUM. Or you can contact me via WhatsApp. So my WhatsApp number is 078-611-2559. So it's 078-611-2559. So those are the two platforms that you can contact me on. And then from there, we can organize a one-on-one session, or we do most of our sessions now due to COVID via Zoom, or whichever platform is convenient for you.
Thank you, Coach Candace. And Coach Duduzile, where can our listeners find you from?
Okay, they can get hold of me on Facebook, and my handle is Duduzile Mashinini, and there's also Soul Intervention Programs page on Facebook, or they can also contact me on WhatsApp 076-038-3625. I do host one-on-one programs in Johannesburg, and also group sessions in Johannesburg, small scale still, because we're still still having COVID restrictions.
Okay, nice. Thank you, Coach, and thank you for this wonderful session. I've learned a lot. Coach Candace, you may proceed with your goodbyes, and then we will go to Coach Duduzile.
Okay, thank you so much, Coach Khensani, for having me on the show. It was really a lot of fun and very interesting, and it was a great blessing to meet Coach Duduzile, who's an amazing woman, and I know I can learn a lot from her as well. So thank you to all the viewers for tuning in, and we pray that everyone has a blessed evening.
Okay, Coach Duduzile.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach Khensani, for having me. It was a great honor to meet Candace as well. And thank you to everybody who tuned in and was part of this conversation. And we are looking to having you with us again some other time soon. And thanks a lot.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, coaches, for tuning in. And Tuesday nights, it's our date night with Coach Boitumelo, the Coaching Hour, the show that equips and empowers and transform communities. And thank you so much for all you have done for us and for teachings that we got. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. And from me, Khensani Chauke, I will say good night until we meet again. And another thank you, I must send it to Coach Boitumelo. I really, really appreciate for this platform. And I also appreciate for the show and appreciate your time. And thank you guys for everything you have done for tonight. And thank you so much to Zoe Life Radio for giving all the coaches time to learn from each other. And until we meet again, God bless you. Take care of yourselves, sanitize, and take care of your families. We'll see each other next week, Tuesday night. Goodbye and good evening.
Blowing the Lord's trumpet loud and proud. Zoe Live Radio.